Nats Chat is brought to you by Walters. Walters is the spot to be at this summer in Navy Yard. Make sure to check out Walters Self-Pour Wall, Walters Unlimited Televisions, and Walters Outdoor Patio.
Located just across the street from Nationals Park. Open daily at 11 a.m.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring podcasts on the Blue Wire Network. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, then you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Wherever you are across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/bluewire to learn more and find a center near you. That's unified, UNIFYD, healing.com/bluewire. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Here's the 2-1 to Bell. Swinging a fly ball left field. Shallow toward the line. Moving in on it is Vargas. Still drifting. He makes the catch. And that is 12 up and 12 down for the Marlins against DJ Herz. Now here comes the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. That's 13 strikeouts. He strikes out the side of the sixth inning. He goes hopping off the mound back to the dugout. What a performance by DJ Herz. 13 strikeouts. Wow.
Here's the pitch. Swinging a fly ball deep to left, hooking toward the corner. Will it stay fair? Down the line it goes, and it is gone. Goodbye! Bang! Zoom goes Joey Meneses. He tucks one around the foul pole into section 106. A 2-run homer to give the Nationals some cushion. 3 runs batted in for the day for Joey Meneses, and it's now the Nationals 4 and the Marlins nothing.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Sunday, June 16th, 2024. What is Father's Day 2024? A happy Father's Day to all of the dads listening. A happy Father's Day to the expectant dads listening, like our good friend Tim Shovers. And on behalf of the Miami Marlins, I'd like to wish the Washington Nationals a happy Father's Day because the Nats right now are the Marlins daddies. Saturday, a 4-0 Nats win over the Marlins at Nationals Park in Game 2 of a 3-game series, improving the Nats in this regular season to 34-36, including 6-0 against the Marlins, who fell to a National League worst 23-47. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Check out Mason's website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text Mason at any time, 202-486-3535. Coming up later in the show, an update on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the radio voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel. Also coming up later in the show, a birthday shout-out. If you would like to have a shout-out delivered to someone who you care about via this podcast, a la a message on the Nationals Park scoreboard, email Tim Shovers, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. The Marlins are really bad. Let's make that clear. But what Nats pitching is doing to the Marlins in this series is filthy. Saturday, Nats starting pitcher DJ Herz and 3 Nats relievers combined on a 4-hit shutout with 17 strikeouts versus 1 walk. This off Nats starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore in the 8-1 win over the Marlins on Friday evening, allowing 1 run in 7 innings with 10 strikeouts versus 1 walk. The Nats in this game did see another position player get hurt. This as the Nats on Saturday announced a rather interesting signing of a player. But Mark, DJ Herz, in just his 3rd Major League regular season start, was outstanding. 6 scoreless innings, 13 strikeouts versus no walks. He gave up just 1 hit, which was a single. He was underwhelming in each of those first 2 starts, but he was phenomenal in this start.
This, Al, is one of the best starts in Nationals history I mean, I think we have to come right out and say that. And I understand he only went 6 innings, and who knows what would have happened if he was given the opportunity to go deeper in the game. But all we can judge this on is when he was out there in the game. And when he was out there, he was basically unhittable. The one hit in the top of the 5th, a solid line drive single past Trey Lipscomb at third base by Jake Berger. Otherwise, they could not touch him. And I mean that literally. They were swinging at everything and hardly ever even making contact. And the superlatives here are just insane when you look at who in Nationals history, first of all, has had a start like this. 13 strikeouts, no walks. Okay, the only pitchers in Nationals history to do that, Max Scherzer did it 4 times, Steven Strasburg twice, including his debut, and John Patterson once in 2005, way back at RFK Stadium. DJ Herz now on that list in terms of Nationals with a 13 strikeout, 0 walk game. But let's even go beyond that, okay? He and Strasburg are the only 2 in modern baseball history to do that, 13 strikeouts, 0 walks in one of their first 3 career starts, okay? You're talking ultimately elite of the elite, and they both happen to be Nationals. And the efficiency to strike out 13 on 84 pitches, they've only kept track of pitch counts officially since 1988. The only 2 I could find who had 13 strikeouts on fewer pitches than that, Clayton Kershaw and Greg Maddux. I mean, stop and consider what we're comparing this start to. I get it. It's just one start. Doesn't promise anything beyond this. But on this one day, DJ Herz was as good as anybody who's ever pitched for the Nationals and did the kind of things that only a handful of big leaguers have ever done, certainly as inexperienced as he is.
He was incredibly dominant. I mean, I can throw another fact at you. He struck out 13 of the 19 batters he faced. That works out to a strikeout percentage, 68.4, second highest strikeout percentage by an MLB rookie in a game in which he faced at least 15 batters in the modern era, which started with the 1901 season. And the only other instance of this, the famous Kerry Wood game, and there's some irony there because it was the Chicago Cubs who drafted DJ Herz and from whom the Nats got DJ Herz. They got him in the Jeimer Candelario trade July 31st, 2023. Well, he was a strikeout pitcher in the minors, so that he had a high strikeout game isn't necessarily jaw-dropping, but, he is not like some sky-high prospect. He's a pretty well-regarded prospect, but he's not like a top 100 prospect or anything like that. But he is a talented guy. He has had a good season for AAA Rochester. And in facing a team that, again, is really bad, the Marlins, you put out a great post on X of how the Marlins were helping out Herz and swinging at some pitches way out of the zone. Herz did what you love to see. And, to the conversation of, well, is he going to stay in the rotation? Does he have to at least earn it to some degree? He made a statement with this outing. I would not anticipate him leaving this Nats rotation anytime soon.
He just bought himself a bunch more starts. I don't care what the next one looks like. He's not going anywhere when you do this. Now, yes, there is a little caveat here. The opponent that he did it against, the Marlins really are not good. And you're right, especially in the early innings, it felt like they were chasing a little more. But to his credit, and this was a key point within that I didn't really was able to make at the time, he was able to get some of those swings and misses outside of the zone because he was ahead in the count, and he expanded the zone after that. So it's not like he was falling behind. He was throwing strike 1 and putting himself in a good position for that. And I think if you look at that strike zone plot, I tweeted it out there after the 3rd inning. If you look at what it was at the end of 6, much more in the zone. So I think he got better as the game went on and was still getting the swings and misses. I mean, he struck out the side in the 6th inning, for crying out loud, the last inning for him. So really, really good. And yet... And he mentioned this, and Drew Millis, the catcher, also mentioned this. In some ways, the more impressive number from this game is not the 13 strikeouts. It's the 0 walks. This is a guy who has averaged almost 6 walks per 9 innings in the minor leagues. That's really been his Achilles heel. He doesn't get hit hardly at all. Because the stuff is good and he's got the movement and the variety of pitches and all that, where he gets into trouble is when he can't throw strikes and when hitters are patient enough to take it and get free passes off of him. So for him to do this with 0 walks, for a guy not necessarily known for that kind of pinpoint command, that is huge. And hopefully he took something away from this to understand, hey, the stuff is good enough. If you can just control it and keep it somewhat in the zone, get ahead in the count, and then maybe make them chase after that, you have a real chance to do something in this league. So in some ways, I think I'm more impressed with the 0 walks than I am with the 13 strikeouts.
It's a fascinating thing what the Nats have going on with Jake Irvin, Mitchell Parker, and DJ Herz. The Nats took Irvin in the 4th round of the 2018 MLB draft out of the University of Oklahoma. The Nats took Mitchell Parker in the 5th round of the 2020 MLB draft out of San Jacinto College. And DJ Herz was taken by the Cubs in the 8th round of the 2019 MLB draft out of high school. So here you have 3, not only non-first round pick pitchers, but 3 guys taken well beyond first rounds of MLB drafts. And each guy is contributing significantly at the major league level already. That changes the conversation about the organizational starting pitching depth. Like, we've gone from MacKenzie Gore and Josiah Gray and who the heck knows who else to now Jake Irvin, Mitchell Parker, DJ Herz. It is remarkable. It's the kind of thing that can so fast forward a rebuild, can so expedite a rebuild. It is terrific. I don't think you could say enough good things about this. Now, Herz is a little different than Irvin and Parker. It's one good start. So like you said, we do need to see more. But man, that is something. I feel like we need to fully appreciate this. Irvin, Parker, Herz, major development in this Nats rebuild.
Yeah, and then add Gore to that, and then Cade Cavalli and Josiah Gray, in theory, are coming sometime soon. And that is a rotation full of young, promising arms, something that we have not said around here maybe ever. They've always had some kind of veteran assisting and leading the way there. To have that many young options. Think about this. Gore, Irvin, Parker, and Herz right now all have ERAs in the 3s. You have Gore and Herz with more strikeouts than innings pitched. And you have Irvin and Parker with whips of 1.0 something. Okay? This is legit. Now, again, Herz not as many starts, so you need to see more of it. But to think that they would have 4 starters, I think they're all like 26 or below, doing that at this level is incredible. And it's just something that I'm not sure anybody really saw coming to this extent yet. You hoped that their young pitching would develop. But I think we all felt like as this rebuild was playing out, that it was going to be the young hitters who would probably arrive first and lead the way first, and then they'd have to figure out the pitching part. And that there weren't a whole lot of pitchers to choose from. You were going to have to count on Gore and Cavalli and Gray to lead the way. And what instead you have are a bunch of pitchers getting here first before a lot of the hitters and having success right away, and enough of them having success that there's some leeway and maybe less pressure now on Gray and Cavalli to come back or on anybody else to stay healthy and be effective. This is really an incredible position for them to be in, and I don't think even the most optimistic person out there saw it happening at this point in June of 2024.
It buys you cushion from a standpoint of if someone doesn't work out or multiple someones don't work out, you can afford to take those hits. Not that you want those hits, but it's not the end of the world. If, say, I don't know, Jackson Rutledge doesn't work out right now, it doesn't look like he's going to work out. And, not that you're happy about that, but you can sustain that if you have the likes of Irvin and Parker and Herz doing well. And of course, it also speaks to what we have harped on so often, which is player development with this team. This team is doing a better job of developing players. This team went forever without developing anyone significant, it felt like. That is changing with what we're seeing here, and it is so good to see. Hey, are you a law firm partner or associate looking for an upgrade from AAA to the majors? Don't be stuck in Rochester like James Wood. Step up to the big leagues by getting the best legal recruiter in D.C. on your team, Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Many lawyers think that they are stuck at firms with inferior resources, management, or compensation, but it is still an active lateral market with top firms looking to poach talent from competitors. And unlike a prospect's move up to the majors, you will find the new firm can make your practice easier. Better resources, better cross-selling opportunities, and better branding to win business from prospective clients. Don't be stuck in Fredericksburg when you are a Washington, D.C. level talent in litigation, regulatory, or corporate legal practices. Mason Kalfas will discuss your practice and clients with you and help you find a better platform to increase your compensation and career trajectory. He has placed partners in over half of the AmLaw 100 law firms, and his candidates rave about the excellent service and their new jobs. Mason also is well known for working with senior government lawyers at the DOJ, SEC, and White House to find positions in top Washington, D.C. law firms. Check out his website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text him anytime, 202-486-3535. Go Nats!
The best way to learn a language? Immersion. Living where the language is spoken and using it every day. But if that's not in the cards this year, you could still learn a language the second best way, and that's with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Here's a special deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners for a limited time at babbel.com/natschat. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/natschat. That's spelled BABBEL.com/natschat. Rules and restrictions may apply.
PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. The finals mean more on PrizePicks, and so do the star players. You get boosted payouts on select basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else. And when the finals are over, the hoops action doesn't stop on PrizePicks because women's basketball is just getting started. With young stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves, alongside greats like Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson, you could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. This week on PrizePicks, I'm looking at the basketball board and selecting Jaylen Brown for more than 25 points, Tyrese Halliburton for more than 10 assists, and Jason Tatum for more than 10 rebounds. Download the app today and use code BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code BLUEWIRE on the PrizePicks app for that first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less, it's that easy.
Here's your Dylan Cruz and Brady House report for the game played on Saturday. Cruz played right field, hit second, doubled, drew a walk, struck out once. His OPS is at .782 on the season. Hitting right behind him and DHing was Brady House, 0 for 2. He drew 2 walks. His OPS sits at .759. Now back to the show.
So now Jesus Sanchez, the batter. Runner at third, 2 out. 4-0 Nats. Finnegan delivers. Swinging a ground ball. Diving stop. Lipscomb at third to his left. Up and throwing. And a curly W's in the books. Trey Lipscomb flashing the leather with a diving play to his left. And throws out Sanchez to end the ball game. And the Nationals win again.
The Nats bullpen in this 4-0 win over the Marlins at Nationals Park on Saturday. 3 Nats relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Dylan Floro tossed a perfect top of the 7th. Hunter Harvey, a bit of an adventure, but he ultimately tossed a scoreless top of the 8th with 3 swinging strikeouts. Despite giving up a leadoff single and a 1-out bunt single and issuing a 2-out wild pitch and a 2-out walk, Harvey threw 31 pitches in that inning. And then Kyle Finnegan tossed a scoreless top of the 9th despite giving up a 2-out triple. Any surprise that we saw Finnegan in what was a non-save situation? He did not pitch on Friday. The Nats do have the off day on Monday, so he should be available for Sunday. But were you at all surprised by Finnegan being utilized in that night?
No, so it's 2-0 going into the inning, and he hadn't pitched in 3 days, so he's warming up. There's already 2 outs in the inning when Joey Meneses hits the 2-run homer that makes it 4-0. So at that point, you'd have to get somebody up and ready, and it's too quick to do that. He's already hot. Might as well put him in there and let him finish this thing off. And yeah, he was efficient enough. I don't think there's any concern about his availability to come back on Sunday with an off day on Monday. I had no problem with that. In a perfect world, you have a little more advance notice of the extra lead and you can warm somebody else up. The thing is, we've also seen you put somebody else in, they put 2 guys on base, Finnegan's going to have to warm up anyways. So I don't love managing to the save stat. It's the 9th inning. He hasn't pitched in 3 days. He's already getting warm. Put him in the game. Doesn't matter.
Nationals offense in this game, 4 runs, a run in the bottom of the 1st, a run in the bottom of the 3rd, and 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th. The Nats in this game had 9 hits. They were comprised of 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 4 singles. The Nats drew no walks, went 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Before we get to some of the standouts, though, concern with Jesse Winker, who, of course, has been an on-base machine for the Nats here. Winker in this game as the Nats starting left fielder and number 3 batter, 1 for 1 with a single, then left the game due to hurting his right knee. He and that Nats 1-run first had a 1-out opposite field single through the left side of the infield, but he then got tagged out in retreating back to second base on an Ildemaro Vargas 2-out single to center field, and it would appear that Winker on that play hurt the right knee. He ended up leaving the game. Already, you just lost Joey Gallo to that hamstring injury, which, by the way, now is significant. That was revealed by Davey Martinez on Friday, so don't expect Gallo back anytime soon. But what do we know about Jesse Winker? All we know is that he's getting an MRI Saturday night, and we'll find out more Sunday morning. A little bit of a concern there that it could be something serious. I mean, you hate to speculate, so you don't know. An MRI on your knee could be a lot of different things. Lane Thomas, it was pretty bad and he missed a month. Other guys, turns out it's nothing and he might be okay. But number one, Jesse Winker has been really important for them as a consistent on-base threat, basically becoming their everyday number 3 hitter here for a while now. So there's that. Coupled with the Gallo injury, and I understand that Gallo was not performing how they wanted, but just in terms of having the bodies that you want in your lineup on a daily basis, they were already a guy down, which I think explains in part the other move they made on Saturday. And so now, if Winker does have to miss any length of time, that's another corner outfielder / first baseman / DH who's down, and you're going to have to figure out how you're going to put this together, especially with James Wood still on the IL at AAA. So the shame is there have been opportunities where if James Wood was healthy, we might have seen him up here by now. He's not healthy yet, so we're not going to see him. There is a guy that they just signed in Harold Ramirez, who I figured would spend a week at AAA, could end up being less than that depending on what the MRI says on Winker. Yeah, so this Harold Ramirez thing, the Nats on Saturday afternoon announced having agreed to terms on a minor league contract with outfielder Harold Ramirez, also announced that he would report to AAA Rochester. This season is Ramirez's age 29 season. He on June 7th got designated for assignment by the Tampa Bay Rays, got released by them on June 13th. He was not having a good season, but this is a guy who has played well. He over the previous 2 regular seasons, 2022 and 2023 with the Rays, combined 869 plate appearances, an OPS of 780. Now, this may work out perfectly in that Winker just got hurt and they just signed Ramirez, but obviously the Nats signed Ramirez without knowing that Winker was going to get hurt. What do you think the thinking was in signing Ramirez? Because it was made clear before the game that he probably was not going to spend much time at Rochester. He was going to be brought up to the major league level. Who was he signed to replace? I think it's basically Joey Gallo for now, but not meaning he's going to be their everyday first baseman, but meaning another one of those first baseman, corner outfielder DHs. They have kind of a rotation going on. And I think you're starting to see Davey try to play matchups a little more lefty and righty. Harold Ramirez, a right-handed hitter, hits lefties very well historically in his career. And I know Gallo's a lefty, and you're saying, well, how does one replace the other? I think it basically boils down to this. Joey Meneses is the starting first baseman now. And he's done well since Gallo got hurt, by the way. Who's your DH? Okay, you have Jesse Winker and Eddie Rosario essentially playing left field and DHing, both left-handed hitters. How about a right-handed hitter to complement them? Probably Rosario. So when you face a lefty, could you have a right-handed DH? And I think that's kind of where Harold Ramirez would have fit in even before this injury. With the injury, you may now have Rosario and Ramirez essentially as like left fielder, maybe DH at times, and somebody else perhaps needed to be included in the mix. So we're looking ahead. We don't know for sure what's going to happen with Winker or how soon Ramirez might come up. But that was the thinking there, to have another right-handed bat to kind of complement, I would say mostly for Eddie Rosario as a right-handed platoon for him. But it comes back to the DH spot that Meneses has vacated to take over at first base with the Gallo injury. But are we to take this as they're not keeping Trey Lipscomb up at the major league level for long, that they're going to bring up Ramirez and demote Lipscomb, who, by the way, didn't even get a start in this latest stint at the major league level until Saturday? That was kind of my other takeaway from it, that potentially that's where this is headed. Lipscomb played finally. He played third base, looked great in the field, didn't do much at the plate. I think that would be a possibility, that them saying we're going to send him back down, that we're not really
using him in the way that he would need to be used or that makes sense for right now with what they're trying to do. You can agree with that or disagree with that. Again, we'll see. There's still a few things that have to happen before we know that for sure. And at the time, they're also maybe thinking, we don't know what Joey Meneses is going to continue to do. We know that he's kind of been on thin ice if he can't start performing. Well, all of a sudden he has the last 3-4 days since Gallo got hurt, starting to hit with a whole lot more authority. And if he keeps that up, obviously he's not losing his job. So I think it gives him another option, another right-handed option. And yeah, potentially, if everything else plays out the way we think it could, maybe that does mean Lipscomb would go down. But if Winker's out now and going on the IL, then there's your move. And so Lipscomb could still stay under that scenario.
Well, Joey Meneses is doing well. He on Saturday as the Nats starting first baseman and number 4 batter, 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer and an RBI sac fly. Meneses in the Nats 1-run first, a 1-out RBI sac fly for a 1-0 Nats lead. And Meneses in the Nats 2-run 8th, a 2-out 2-run homer to left field on a 1-2 pitch for a 4-0 Nats lead. It was on Wednesday morning that the Nats announced having placed first baseman Joey Gallo on the 10-day injured list with a left hamstring strain. Meneses has been the Nats starting first baseman for each of the team's 4 games since then. He, over those 4 games, is 6 for 14 with a 2-run homer, 3 doubles, a 2-run single, an RBI single, 2 walks, and an RBI sac fly. This is the Joey Meneses we have been begging to see. Who knew that all it took was Joey Gallo getting injured for us to see this Joey Meneses?
Well, Meneses has claimed all along that he's more engaged when he plays every day and is playing in the field. Now, there have been times that he's played, and Gallo was hurt earlier this year, and Meneses did not take full advantage of that. So I don't know that it's fair just to say, he just needed to be in the lineup at first base every day, and that would fix everything. Maybe not quite that simple. But he did kind of understand that this could be, as we've discussed, his last best chance here at this level. He is taking full advantage of it. And what I like to see about it is we're not seeing little flares to right center field. We're seeing him hit the ball in the air with some authority to the pull side to left field. The homer, the doubles, even the sac fly in this game was a hard line out, I think 103 miles an hour to center field. Much, much better swings from him. You hope this is the start of something, that it's not just a nice few days. Good for him and good for the team if this is it, because all of a sudden they do need him given the injuries to others in the situation that they're in.
Tim Shovers here to tell you about Game Time. This summer at Jiffy Lube Live, acts include Neil Young, Hank Williams Jr., and Chris Stapleton. If you're interested in finding tickets to any of these shows, make sure to check out the Game Time app. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Rogers fires, and a swing and a fly ball, well hit to right center field. Back on this one goes Sanchez to the warning track, looking up, and it is gone. It just clears the big wall in right center, a home run for Lane Thomas, and the Nats lead 2-0.
Also homering for the Nats on Saturday, Lane Thomas, who is having quite the series. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 2 batter, went 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a double. So 6 total bases. Thomas in the Nats 1-run first, had a 1-out first pitch, a hustle double to the left center field gap, and Thomas in the Nats 1-run third, a 2-out opposite field solo homer to right center field for a 2-0 Nats lead. So Lane Thomas in this series, a combined 4 for 9 with 2 home runs, a 3-run homer and a solo homer. Also has a double and a single. I mentioned this on the last installment of the podcast, and it's always dangerous to attach records to players. I get that. But it is interesting. It was on Memorial Day that the Nats announced having reinstated Thomas from the 10-day injured list. He had been on that since April 24th with the sprained left MCL. The Nats now, since bringing back Lane Thomas, are 11-8. And it reminds me somewhat, and, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but 2019, Trey Turner gets injured. And the Nats surge from 19-31 more or less coincides with Turner coming back. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. And you can see this. You do see this. When a key position player comes back, the team does better. And, you could argue how much the return has to do with that. But it is interesting that this recent run for the Nats does line up with the return of Lane Thomas.
Yeah, I heard you say that on the podcast yesterday, and I don't think you're wrong for at least bringing that up. We said at the time when he got hurt, they're going to miss him. I know he was struggling that first month of the season, but he's one of the few proven hitters that this team had for power, for being a top of the order guy, for, the great arm in right field. You take him out of that lineup and you have to find somebody else. And we saw CJ Abrams struggled without Lane Thomas. All of a sudden he's hitting better since Lane came back. It sets up the lineup a whole lot better with Abrams 1, Thomas 2, and lately Winker 3. I think Lane Thomas doesn't always get enough credit for the player that he is. Maybe not a great player, maybe not an all-star, and I know that he got off to a really slow start this year, but he's just a good, solid, foundational player that you need, and when you lose him for any length of time, you notice it, and when he comes back, I think you notice it as well. Trey Turner was not the best player on the 2019 Nationals, but his absence was really noticeable, and his return absolutely was noticed by everyone. Again, not to equate the two, but as far as this team's concerned, Lane Thomas holds an important role as well. And I think it was important that he came back and that we've seen a difference it can make. Also, some leadership qualities. You saw him being one of the ones to help settle down everybody in the dugout during the little incident the other night. I think he's taken it more upon himself as a pseudo-veteran on this team to have a leadership role. So I think Lane Thomas is really important to this team right now.
Well, it's funny. He's been on the team since the trade deadline to 2021. That actually makes him one of the elder statesmen on the team. Like, if you've been on this team since 2021, you've actually become one of the longer tenured people on the team. I did want to bring this up too. CJ Abrams in this game on Saturday as the Nats starting shortstop and number one batter, 1 for 4 with a double that really should have been a triple. Abrams in the Nats 2-run 8th, the leadoff full count double to deep right field. He was essentially pimping what he thought was going to be a home run. It ended up being a double. Now, it ends up not mattering because Meneses hit the home run, but he's got to be better than that, and he is better than that. And I don't want to kill him for this, but, don't watch the ball. Run hard because that double should have been a triple.
And as Davey Martinez told us when CJ got back to the dugout, he said to Davey, not the other way around, he said to Davey, "I'm fined, right?" And Davey said, "Yes, you're getting fined for that." And so it's already been taken care of. CJ knew it.
Okay, you get fined.
Water under the bridge, don't do it again.
Well, and that actually brings us back to the incident from Friday evening, because something that emerged late night on Friday night after I taped the installment of the podcast, MacKenzie Gore in his post-game session with reporters took the blame for the incident with Nick Senzel. MacKenzie Gore showed great maturity and great leadership in essentially saying, "Hey, my bad, that was on me." And I thought that was so impressive of Gore to do that. The thing with Gore and Senzel, they reportedly were joking in the clubhouse after the game. So, this really does appear to be like an isolated one-time thing. But I wanted to recognize that because I think that says a lot of good things about MacKenzie Gore to do that in a post-game session, say, yeah, that was on me. I need to be better than that. So good for him.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Also, Senzel, said, "Hey, I need to be better in terms of a little more urgency making that throw." I didn't think it was egregious. It could have been better, but it wasn't like a blatant lack of effort on his part. So I liked that he, acknowledged that he could have been better. And I really liked that Gore said, "You know what? I can't do that. That's not the right thing for me to do as a pitcher." And you're right. They were joking around the day after. Everybody was in a good mood. I think there's a good culture that has been established in this clubhouse. And I think it's important. And I know we were all, making the references and jokes about Jonathan Papelbon and Bryce Harper from 2015. This is a very different clubhouse than that one. Now, that team was loaded with superstars. So let's not try to equate them in that way. But that was a team that was spiraling out of control late in the season, a manager that did not have control of his clubhouse. This is a very different one in terms of who the manager is, who the players are, how they like each other, how they all kind of pull on the same rope, and almost to the point where they weren't upset that it happened that much. I think they felt like, hey, you know what? This is part of it. And I think in some ways you could see from Davey, he purposely didn't get involved in it. He kind of let the players take care of it, understanding that they could do that he trusted them to do that. And in a lot of ways, that's a big sign of how far they've come as a team and how they're growing, that they don't let something like that turn into anything worse. It's an isolated incident. They took care of it. They're all friends. They move on. I think that's an important sign of clubhouse culture that was not there in 2015.
Very much so. And the incident is rooted in competitiveness and guys' desire to win. And we know that Gore is very hard on himself, so it would make sense that he would be hard on other people. This wasn't about like two guys who are not good guys. This is just, hey, in the heat of the moment, something happens and you say something and you maybe regret how you said it and you move on. And it's not nearly, the crime of the century that, other incidents like that can be. It's probably healthy too, you go over the course of a season, you have a bunch of alpha males together this often, this much, like stuff's going to come up. It's probably healthy that you can manifest some of the frustration, get it out of the system, and move on. And of course, it helps too when you're playing the lowly Marlins, who the Nats are just owning in this series. A combined score of 12-1 over the first two games, in prime position to pull off the 3-game sweep. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starter on Sunday afternoon at 1:35, and then comes an off day on Monday, and then comes, more of this, as we have discussed, manageable portion of the schedule. 3-game series against the Arizona Diamondbacks Tuesday through Thursday, and then comes that lengthy trip, which includes 2 series out west and then a series back east at Tampa Bay, but 3 games at the Colorado Rockies, 3 games at the San Diego Padres, 3 games at the Tampa Bay Rays. Nats are 2 games under 500. We talked recently about how the Nats could be above 500 by July 4th. They could be above 500 by the middle of this coming week, the way that things are going right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The schedule, as we've discussed, is starting to ease up on them. They are taking full advantage of the Marlins. In the 6 games, they've won all 6. The combined score of those 6 games is 45-17. When is the last time the Nationals dominated anybody to that extent? This is what had been happening to them by the Marlins and others in the NL East for several years. So that is really nice to see. And as we tape this, and there's still stuff going on over the rest of the day Saturday, they are a half game out of the wild card with a bunch of teams in the mix and still ahead of them. But somebody eventually is going to crack the 500 mark and take at least the lead in that race. And given what the schedule is upcoming, the Nationals have an opportunity to be that team.
It's very difficult for the Nats not to be in wild card contention come, say, August. I mean, they're going to have to really fall off to not be in wild card contention come August with the way that the National League is this season. It is so top heavy. And then after those top, 2, 3, 4 teams, it's like a bunch of teams that are at or near 500. And the Nats, of course, are right in that mix right now. All right, we have a shout out to deliver. A happy birthday to Henry Christopher Needham. Henry turns 5 today. His family credits his summer 2019 birth as what led to the Nats turnaround. So there was the return of Trey Turner and there was the birth of Henry Christopher Needham. So we appreciate your efforts in that 2019 season, Henry. Thank you, and hope you have a great birthday. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Check out Mason's website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text him at any time, 202-486-3535. You can hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can listen to previous shows. You can also get yourself a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. Nats Chat is on the radio Sunday morning 9 to 10 on ESPN Richmond, which is 106.1 FM in the Richmond, Virginia area, and Sunday morning 9 to 10 on Priority Sports Radio 94.1 in the Virginia Beach area. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast. And we leave you now with this update on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel.
Josh Whetzel here with a Rochester Red Wings update. As of Thursday, June 13th, the Wings are 32-31 in the season and playing without James Wood, unfortunately, right now. Wood has been out with that strained hamstring since May 23rd. He still leads the International League in batting average at .355. Hopefully, Wood will be back soon. The Wings offense has struggled a little bit without Wood in the lineup. Travis Blankenhorn has still provided much of the punch with 15 home runs. That's tied for second in the league. His 45 RBIs are tied for third in the league at the moment. Jackson Clough, a good second baseman / shortstop, has been impressive in his first 27 AAA games, hitting .291 with 3 home runs and nearly an .870 OPS. Shortstop Jack Dunn continues to impress, getting on base. His walk total is in the top 15 in the league, and he has a .392 on base percentage while playing very good defense in the field. And Riley Adams has been good at the plate since getting option from the Nationals, hitting .357 with 3 home runs in his first 7 Red Wings games. On the pitching side of things, Andrew Alvarez, the reigning Nationals minor league pitcher of the year, got promoted recently from AA Harrisburg. He got knocked around in his AAA debut in Worcester, but on Wednesday pitched 5 shutout innings, although he ended up with a no decision. Pitched well, though, in his first start in Rochester. And probably the best pitcher out of the Wings bullpen lately has been lefty Joe LaSorsa. 9 consecutive scoreless appearances for LaSorsa. That spans 13 1/3 innings. He's only allowed 3 hits in that time frame, and his overall ERA now has lowered to .260 on the year. Right-hander Rico Garcia has been closing games out for the Red Wings and has been very good. He currently ranks second in the league with 9 saves. That's a Rochester Red Wings update.
He's not running. The pitch is off speed and a called strike 3. The changeup got Moreno looking, much to his chagrin. Though no runs, 1 hit, the only one Strasburg has given up.